Have you ever walked into a room and felt the entire atmosphere shift without saying a single word? Not because you tried to intimidate anyone, not because you raised your voice or made demands, but simply because your presence carried a weight that others weren't prepared to handle. That invisible force radiating from your core, the one you've cultivated through years of inner work, solitude, and transformation, it doesn't announce itself. It doesn't need to. Yet the moment you enter a space, eyes dart away, conversations stumble, and an unexplainable tension fills the air. What you're witnessing isn't fear of you as a person. It's the collision between authentic spiritual depth and the fragile facades most people spend their entire lives maintaining. Your soul has become a mirror they never asked to look into, and what they see reflected back terrifies them more than any external threat ever could. This phenomenon isn't supernatural, though it certainly feels otherworldly when it happens. There's actually a physiological explanation for why people react so viscerally to encountering genuine power. When someone unexpectedly encounters a force that exceeds their capacity to process, whether that's natural beauty, profound wisdom, or spiritual magnitude, their nervous system responds with a complex cocktail of reactions. Heart rate increases, breathing becomes shallow, pupils dilate, the body floods with adrenaline, preparing for something it can't quite name. Scientists have studied this overlap between fear and awe, discovering that both emotions activate remarkably similar neural pathways. The difference lies in the aftermath. Fear depletes and diminishes, while awe expands and rebuilds. When people encounter your energy, they're experiencing both simultaneously, the terror of having their illusions shattered and the wonder of glimpsing something magnificently real.
Attention, you need to prepare now. I put together an exclusive resource for those who feel set apart for something greater, but live surrounded by noise, distractions, and mental overload. This is a 30-day journey that will transform your life, a guided path to armor your mind and prepare for what's coming, with daily practices of focus, boundaries, and discipline. Stop negotiating with the noise. Learn to spot distractions before they control you and strengthen your mind. Also available in an immersive audio version. Over 10,000 readers have already transformed their lives through the 30-day journey. Thousands of people have already started this transformation. People like you who were tired of living in the fog, ordinary people who decided to stop accepting mental chaos. Take advantage of this limited time offer only this month. Access your link just below in the pinned comment.
You didn't ask for this kind of impact. You weren't seeking to intimidate or impress anyone. You simply did the work. You walked through fires that would have destroyed lesser souls. You sat with your shadows when everyone else was running from theirs. You chose truth over comfort, growth over safety, authenticity over acceptance. And now, after all those years of forging yourself in solitude, you've emerged with a substance that most people have never cultivated. Your strength isn't performed. It's embedded in every cell, woven into the fabric of who you've become. And when others encounter that level of integration, their systems go haywire trying to categorize what they're experiencing. Consider this scene. You're at a gathering, perhaps a family event or professional setting, and you're simply existing in your natural state. You're not trying to prove anything. You're not competing for attention. You're just there, grounded in your truth, aligned with your purpose, connected to something far greater than the petty dramas unfolding around you. And then it happens. Someone approaches you with their usual tactics, the polished smile, the calculated compliments, the subtle probing for weakness. They're running their standard program, the one that's worked on everyone else. But when they encounter you, the program crashes. Your energy doesn't compute in their system. They feel it immediately, that disorienting sensation of their manipulation tools bouncing off an impenetrable surface. Confusion flickers across their face. They try again, adjusting their approach, but nothing lands. You're not being difficult, you're not resisting them. You're simply operating from a frequency they cannot access or control. Before we go deeper into what happens next, I want to invite you to subscribe to this channel if you're someone who recognizes these experiences in your own life. This content is created specifically for those walking the path of spiritual awakening, and there's so much more to explore together. Click that subscribe button now, because what we're about to uncover will illuminate patterns you've been sensing but couldn't quite articulate. What most people don't understand is that your presence acts as a diagnostic tool, revealing three fundamental truths that others spend enormous energy trying to hide from the world and from themselves. The first revelation happens almost instantly, though its effects ripple outward for days, weeks, sometimes years afterward. Your solid foundation exposes their hollow cores. Think about someone who's built an entire identity on external validation. Every decision filtered through what will they think. Every accomplishment measured by likes, shares, comparison. Their confidence is a construct, impressive from the outside but structurally unsound. They've never actually done the internal excavation required to build on bedrock. They've erected their whole life on shifting sand, hoping nobody notices the instability. Then you walk into their world, and your mere existence becomes a seismic event. You're not trying to expose them, you're not judging their choices or critiquing their lifestyle, but your authenticity creates a contrast so stark that their pretense becomes unbearably obvious to them and to everyone watching. Imagine a woman who's perfected the art of projection. Her social media feeds are immaculate. Her professional reputation is flawless. She's mastered the language of confidence, speaking with authority on topics she's never truly explored. She's convinced herself and others that she's solid, unshakable, complete. But beneath that carefully curated exterior, doubts gnaw like termites in old wood. She knows in those quiet moments before sleep that it's all a performance. She's never actually faced herself. When she encounters your energy, something inside her recognizes what she's been avoiding. You represent the path she was too afraid to take, the journey inward, the confrontation with truth, the willingness to be nobody in order to become somebody real. Your presence doesn't attack her defenses. It reveals that they were always just paper walls. She shifts uncomfortably. Her polished armor starts cracking under the light of your authentic being. And here's what makes it so unsettling for her. You're not doing anything to her. You're not exposing her deliberately or gloating over her discomfort. Your truth just illuminates what's always been there. It's like turning on a light in a room full of shadows. The darkness doesn't fight back. It simply dissolves. She walks away from the encounter drained, haunted by what she felt, forced to confront the hollow spaces she's spent decades protecting. This isn't cruelty on your part. It's consequence. You've walked a path that demanded everything from you. You've been stripped down to your essence, rebuilt from the inside out, tested in ways that would break most people. That journey forged you into something unbreakable, and now your solidity highlights their instability, not to diminish them, but to reflect truth. Some will use that reflection to finally begin their own inner work. Others will resent you for forcing them to see what they weren't ready to acknowledge. Either way, the mirror doesn't lie. If this is resonating with your experience, take a moment right now to like this video. Your engagement helps this message reach others who need to hear it, and it tells me that we're exploring territory that matters to your journey. Hit that like button and let's continue. But exposing weakness is only the first layer of what happens when people encounter your magnitude. The second revelation cuts even deeper, striking at the core of how they've learned to navigate the world. Your power defies their control mechanisms. Most people operate from a playbook they've refined over decades. They know how to manipulate emotional responses. They understand which buttons to push, which stories to tell, which vulnerabilities to exploit. They've built entire systems of influence based on reading people and adjusting their behavior accordingly. It's not always malicious, sometimes it's just survival strategy, learned in childhood and perfected in adulthood. But regardless of intent, it's fundamentally about control. Then they encounter you, and every single tactic fails. Consider a man who's masterful at pulling strings. He's the one who always knows what to say to get his way. He can make you feel guilty without raising his voice. He can flatter you into compliance. He can create crises that somehow always require his intervention. He's the puppet master, and everyone else dances on his strings. He's never met someone he couldn't eventually manipulate, even if it took time and patience. His entire identity is wrapped up in this ability to orchestrate outcomes through subtle influence. You enter his sphere and his entire system collapses. Not because you're resisting him. Resistance would validate his power, give him something to push against. No, what destroys his confidence is your complete imperviousness to his methods. Your strength draws from depths he's never even acknowledged exist. You're anchored in something eternal, connected to a source that transcends human games. When he offers praise, you don't preen. When he criticizes, you don't defend. When he creates drama, you don't engage. You're not being difficult or playing hard to get. You're simply operating from a different operating system entirely, one he has no access to and cannot hack. Watch the panic flicker in his eyes as he realizes his toolkit is useless. He tries different approaches: charm, intimidation, guilt, urgency, cycling through his greatest hits. Nothing lands. You remain unmoved, not out of defiance but out of alignment with something greater than his manipulation. He can't leverage your insecurities because you've already faced them. He can't dangle rewards because you've claimed what actually matters. He can't threaten you because you're protected by forces he doesn't understand or believe in. His empire of influence crumbles against your quiet sovereignty, and for the first time in his life, he's powerless. This isn't personal. You're not targeting him specifically, but your existence proves that his entire worldview is limited, that there are people operating on frequencies his control cannot reach. The frustration this creates in someone accustomed to always winning cannot be overstated. He may lash out, he may spread stories, he may try to turn others against you, convinced that if he can't control you, he can at least damage your reputation. But even these attempts feel hollow, because your foundation isn't built on what people think. You've been refined by trials he's never faced. You've surrendered to a process that required letting go of exactly the kind of control he clings to. And that surrender, paradoxically, made you unbreakable in ways he'll never comprehend. Here's something vital for your journey. Turn on notifications for this channel right now. These insights are part of an ongoing conversation about spiritual awakening and authentic power, and you don't want to miss the next piece. Click that notification bell, because what's coming will deepen your understanding even further. Now, if exposing weakness was the first revelation and nullifying control was the second, then the third is perhaps the most volatile of all. Your light drags their hidden darkness into the open. Everyone carries shadow material: resentment, envy, malice, fear, shame. It's part of being human. But most people deal with these darker aspects by suppressing them, creating a split between their public persona and their private reality. They present one face to the world while quietly nursing grudges, harboring jealousies, and plotting small revenges. In normal social settings, this compartmentalization works. Everyone's playing the same game, maintaining polite fictions, never digging too deep. Your presence destroys those compartments. Think of someone who's wrapped themselves in charm, speaking sweet words while seething internally. They've learned to mask resentment as concern, envy as admiration, malice as playful teasing. They're skilled at the performance, convincing even themselves that they're good people with pure intentions. But beneath the surface, darkness swirls, old wounds they never healed, comparisons they can't stop making, a fundamental belief that the world owes them more than they've received. Around their peers, they thrive in this shadowy dance. Everyone's doing it, so nobody calls it out. Then you arrive and everything changes. Your purity acts like a magnet for truth, repelling facades without any conscious effort on your part. You're not trying to be a mirror, you're not attempting to expose anyone, but your authenticity creates a field where pretense cannot survive. The darkness they've been suppressing rises to the surface, demanding acknowledgement. They feel it happening and hate you for it. Suddenly they're snapping at you over nothing, making cutting remarks disguised as jokes, criticizing choices you never asked them to approve, spreading subtle poison about you when you're not around. They can't help themselves. Your light has activated their shadow, and they're projecting all that suppressed chaos onto you. Here's what makes this so dangerous for them. Once their darkness surfaces in your presence, they can't unsee it. The comfortable lie they've been telling themselves, that they're fundamentally good people who occasionally have bad thoughts, shatters. Now they have to face the reality that they're carrying significant unresolved material that's corrupting their interactions and choices. Some will use this uncomfortable revelation as a catalyst for their own healing journey. They'll thank you later, once they've done the work, for being the mirror that showed them what needed attention, but others will double down, deciding that you're the problem rather than their own unexamined shadow. They'll convince themselves that you're manipulative, dangerous, threatening, anything to avoid acknowledging their own darkness. This third effect creates the most intense reactions because it strikes at their self-concept. Nobody wants to believe they're carrying malice, envy, or resentment. Admitting that requires humility and courage most people haven't cultivated. So instead of looking inward, they blame outward. You become the villain in a story they're telling themselves to avoid transformation. And honestly, that's not your burden to carry. You didn't create their shadow material. You didn't force them to suppress it for years. You simply existed in your authentic power, and the light exposed what was always there. Their choice now is whether to face it and heal or to project it and suffer. Either way, your role is complete. If you've experienced any of these dynamics, being blamed for reactions you didn't cause, attacked for strengths you've earned, resented for peace you've cultivated, drop a comment below sharing your story. This community is built on authentic connection, and your experience might be exactly what someone else needs to hear today. Comment now, and let's support each other in this journey. So what do you do with all of this? How do you navigate a world where your very presence triggers such intense reactions? First, understand that this isn't a flaw in you, it's a feature of spiritual maturity. The fact that people react strongly to your energy confirms that you've done the work. You're no longer operating on surface levels. You've accessed depth that most people avoid their entire lives. Their discomfort is not your responsibility to manage. You're not required to dim your light so others feel comfortable in their darkness. You're not obligated to pretend weakness to make insecure people feel powerful. Your job is to continue walking your path with integrity, regardless of how others respond. Second, develop discernment about who deserves access to your energy. Not everyone can handle what you've become. Some people will benefit from your presence, the ones ready to grow, the ones willing to face their own reflections, the ones brave enough to choose truth over comfort. But others will only use your light to illuminate their grievances, your strength to justify their weakness, your peace to fuel their chaos. Learn to recognize the difference. Protect your energy fiercely. You didn't survive everything you've survived just to be drained by people who refuse their own transformation. Third, remember that their reaction is their curriculum, not your failure. When someone freezes in your presence, when they lash out or pull away, when they spread stories or organize resistance against you, that's their soul's way of showing them what they need to work on. You're not responsible for teaching them that lesson directly. You're just the catalyst. The universe is using your presence to offer them an opportunity for growth. Whether they take it or reject it is entirely their choice. Release any need to convince them, fix them, or prove anything to them. Your path continues regardless of their decisions. Finally, find your people. Yes, many will react negatively to your magnitude, but some, the ones who've done their own work, the ones who recognize authentic power when they encounter it, the ones who've been waiting for someone real in a world of pretense, will gravitate toward you with relief and recognition. These are your true connections, not based on what you can do for them, not contingent on you staying small, but rooted in mutual respect for the journey each of you has walked. Build your community with these souls. They won't fear your strength because they've cultivated their own. They won't need to control you because they've surrendered control in their own lives. They won't project darkness onto you because they've faced their shadows honestly. Before we close, I want to remind you to share this video with someone in your life who needs to hear this message. Maybe it's a friend who's been struggling to understand why people react so strangely to their growth. Maybe it's a family member who's been dimming their light to keep peace. Whoever it is, share this now. Let's expand this conversation beyond just us, because there are chosen ones everywhere who need to know they're not alone in these experiences. The truth is, you've been prepared for this. Every trial, every betrayal, every lonely night questioning if you'd survive, it was all forging you into someone who could carry this kind of power without abusing it. Lesser souls would use this magnitude to dominate, control, take revenge on everyone who hurt them. But you've been refined differently. You understand that true power serves truth, protects the vulnerable, and creates space for others to rise. Your strength isn't about crushing those weaker than you. It's about standing so firmly in your truth that others see what's possible when someone actually does the work. So when they freeze, when they panic, when they rage against the magnitude of your soul, remember this: their reaction is not a reflection of your worth. It's a revelation of their readiness. Some seeds need darkness before they can sprout. Some souls need to see authentic power before they can begin cultivating their own.